So doing this experiment, you want to make sure that you have all your supplies ready and all the HOL supplies ready as well. Now we have a lot of chemicals that we're going to use in today's experiment, and you want to keep these for other experiments. So after you cut open the pipette, make sure to close it back up after you've used it with tape, electrical tape, or duct tape, or masking tape. Now, this FDC blue dye number 1 is what we used in last week's experiment. I actually didn't realize that it was necessary for this experiment. So if you threw this away, you won't be able to do that one experiment. And that's okay. Of course, I won't take points away because I didn't tell you to keep that dye. In fact, I actually told someone that they could throw it away. So if you can't do this one, that's fine, but keep all these other chemicals for another chemical reaction. So now let's look at the first experiment, which is reactivity of metals. And you've already opened up chemical pipettes. You've already opened up a chemical pipette when you used the dyes for last week's experiment. All right, so the first thing you're going to do, you're going to cut a 2-inch by 10-inch strip of aluminum foil, and be careful not to rip it or not to wrinkle it. Then you're going to set the aluminum foil on a flat, stable surface and place 2 layers of bathroom tissue on top of the foil, and then pour 1 tablespoon of vinegar onto the bathroom tissue, dampening it in its entirety, and let it stand for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, place 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of distilled water in a small cup or bowl and let it dissolve. After 5 minutes, remove the toilet tissue from the foil, throw it in the trash, and the vinegar is going to allow the aluminum to react more readily. So rinse the foil gently with tap water, and then place the foil on a smooth surface such as a kitchen counter, and use a paper towel to gently blot away the water that remains on the foil and sort of smooth it out. Flip over the foil and repeat the drying and smoothing process until the foil is completely dry and no wrinkles remain. But make sure that when you do your chemical reactions that you use the side of the foil that you treat it with the vinegar. Next, you're going to label the foil with the 4 different reactants, and I would use a Sharpie here. And then after you label the 4 different reactants, silver nitrate, copper 2 sulfate, calcium chloride, lead 2 nitrate, you're going to saturate a paper towel with the salt mixture that you prepared, and then wipe the aluminum foil until it's damp above where you've labeled it. That salt water is going to be really important for a reaction to occur. Then you're going to start your first reaction, and then you will do your subsequent reactions. All of these directions refer just to silver nitrate, but you're going to do them for the other 3 reactants as well. So let's take a look at our data table. You want to write the initial appearance of the chemical. So that means either the silver nitrate or the copper 2 sulfate or the calcium chloride or the lead 2 nitrate. Is it colorless? Does it have a color? And then the initial appearance of the foil, which is going to be the same for all 4. So what does the foil look like? And then you will record the start time that you add each chemical to the foil. Now make sure that when you add the chemical to the foil, there is some salt water present. All right, so you're going to allow the silver nitrate on the foil. You're going to allow that process to occur for 5 minutes, and then you will write down what you see happening. Do you see nothing? Do you see bubbles? Do you see a color change? Whatever you see after 5 minutes, record on your data table. All right, then you're going to do that for the other 3 chemicals, and then let the foil sit for 3 hours. And then after 3 hours have passed, make and record your observations of each of the chemicals. And then you want to gently rinse the foil with tap water. Allow the foil to air dry. Don't blot it or rub it dry because you don't want to remove any of the chemicals that may be on the foil. So when the foil is completely dry, observe the surface of the foil. And record any observations. So if a change has occurred, that indicates that a chemical reaction has occurred. Now, for exercise 1 questions, you only have to answer question number 1. You don't have to answer questions 2, 3, 4, or 5. Just exercise 1, question 1.